How does a nation become a terrorist state to its own citizens? How does a country begin frightening its own people? It always begins with fear. It always begins with fear. And usually it's a fear of other. It's a fear of different lifestyles, fear of different appearances, fear of different ethnicities, fear, it's a fear of the other. There's this foundational thing. I'm convinced that there's actually a biological reason for this, that we are wired to be basically tribal or familial at the very least. That we are wired as primates, and you, frankly, I think you see this probably in all mammals, to protect kith and kin, right? To watch out for those. Well, actually, we know some of the neurochemistry of this. Oxytocin, not the drug that Rush Limbaugh got addicted to, that was OxyContin, but oxytocin is a hormone that the body produces in response to a variety of things. It's associated with, it's massively spikes during childbirth. And it also seems to be associated with sexual arousal and with, quote, love, falling in love. And what it does is it actually binds people to each other. When people are in each other's presence and they both have high levels of oxytocin, there's a binding that goes on. You've probably seen or heard stories of, or even seen video of, the baby duck that got hatched with the geese, and the first goose that the first bird that the duck saw was a mother goose, and so thought, oh, mom, and follows them around, or the dog that was raised by the cat, or the cat that was raised by the dog. Yeah, there's all these examples out there. And most of that tracks back to oxytocin, to this, there's actually a chemical thing about binding, about us bonding to each other. So family is the tightest binding, the tightest bond. And there's an actual chemical, neurological, hormonal, oxytocin is a hormone, associated with that. Measurable, definable. And in fact, I would suggest it goes beyond immediate family. So then beyond family, of course, is extended family, which historically, cousins and nephews and nieces and second cousins and third cousins and fourth cousins, and historically that's been called tribe. People who are relatively closely related. And Malcolm Gladwell, in his first book, Blink was his second, and the title of his first book had something to do with things going viral, as it were. But in any case, he quoted some really, really good research in there that showed that humans are wired to be able to bond with about 150 people, and that there's a difference between brain size and the ability to bond. And our brains, and you could track this on a scale that a mouse can bond with a certain number of other mice, a dog can bond with a certain number of dogs, a chimpanzee can bond with a certain number of chimps, and all the way up to humans, you can just draw a line and you can see that brain size is correlated with social group size. And our social group size is 150. That's how many we can feel bonded to at any one given moment in our lives. Now, some people have the ability to massively expand that number. I would say that's somebody like Bill Clinton, somebody who's just incredibly socially competent. And some people have, probably a much smaller number than that 150. People who are very more introverted and more keep to themselves. But this is biological stuff. And so when you combine that, that fundamental biology with somebody saying, oh, look at them. They're different than you. They're different than us. it triggers something that's primal in us. And then when they add to that, oh, look at them, they're different than us, and they represent a threat to us, that triggers something that's even more deeply primal. Fight or flight, that fight or flight response that comes out of the limbic brain is something we don't just share with mammals. We share with lizards. All right, you frighten a snake, and it will rear up, and it will either fight or it will flee. You can see it making its calculations. We're talking about really fundamental stuff here, stuff that's way beyond the ability of our conscious mind to control because it's wired into us. It's wired into us at a level that's below words, below logic. And then you say, oh, look at, they're different than us. Now they're outside our group, our tribe, our family. They're different than us, and they represent a threat to us. And then you kick a third one in there. Oh, and not only that, they're inferior to us. And now, oh, well, they're not even fully human. And now you've set the stage for everything from 6,000 years of slavery in modern civilization to genocide, the destruction of the Native Americans, the Holocaust. So what's the message that's being conveyed by all this hysteria? All this be afraid, be very afraid. I mean, this is powerful stuff. This is dynamite. Whether it was the Hutus and the Tutsis, or whether it was, what happened in Europe before World War II, or whether it's what we've seen throughout civilization over and over and over again, the Native American, the genocide against the Native Americans here.